Today, I want to share with you some of the common beliefs that we believe make sense about negotiations, but they have been shown to be inaccurate or wrong by recent negotiation research. So before I go to the myth, I want to share with you a few fundamental concepts about negotiations, just to set up the conceptual background, to set up the stage. So negotiation is the type of social interaction where typically two parties get together to discuss the exchange of valuable resources. Now, negotiation has two main components. The first component is called value creation. This is the part where the two parties actually share information, communicate key interests, and try to make the pie larger, try to bring more value on the table. That's also the handshaking part in that photo. And the second stage, or the second component, is called value claiming. This is when the two parties engage in power play, when they compete, when things get ugly, when you try to beat the other person to take more value home. This is also the baseball bat part in that photo. So the outcome of a negotiation can be interpreted or evaluated in three different ways. The first one is joint outcome, which means the sum of the outcome of all parties involved in the negotiation. This measures how well you have done in value creation, whether you have communicated enough to make the pie big. And the second outcome, of course, is the individual outcome you can have from the negotiation. How much are you taking home? And this reflects how well you have done in value claiming. One outcome that has generally been overlooked in negotiation or in when we talk about negotiation is actually the relationship quality between the two parties after the negotiation. Now, in the business world, a lot of the business deals are one-time deals. For example, if you buy a car from a dealer, once you bought the car, then you won't be able to see the dealer for a few years until you need a new car, right? But in the corporate life, a lot of the negotiation and the social interactions, after the negotiation, you still have to see each other, right, every day if you work together. For example, if you ask for your boss for a raise, whether you get it or not, you still have to see each other. You still have to work with each other until one of you change jobs. So sometimes relationship quality is actually very important to in the negotiation, sometimes even more important than economic value. Now we have got the basic concepts out of the way. I want to go to the first myth. Now, a lot of people believe that in negotiations, you should make a good impression. So the logic underlying this is that if you make the other party like you, they might give you a good deal, right? And so the strategy based on this assumption is that, oh, you should figure out what the other party wants, what's their preference and expectations, and then I try to satisfy them to make them happy, right? Now, this might work in daily social interaction, and then this makes common sense because since we were kids, we were told to be nice, to be friendly, so that the world will like us, right? Nice guys finish first, that's what we were told. However, in the negotiation, which is a special type of social interaction, you might get better outcome by simply being yourself. There are two reasons why this might be the case. The first is that I don't know if you have tried to impress someone, to try to make someone like you. It is exhausting. You have to keep thinking about what to do or to say to make them happy. You have to keep monitoring their emotional state, etc., right? And second, in negotiations, no matter how hard you try to cater to the other person's interest, you never get any feedback, right? The other party is not going to stop in the middle of the negotiation and say, hey, I know you're trying to make me happy and you're doing a good job. Keep that up, right? You never get that kind of feedback. So you're constantly in a state of anxiety where you don't know how you're doing. These two factors together will distract you from the real task, which is negotiation. The research evidence supporting this view comes from a recent study conducted by my co-author, Professor Francesca Gino from Harvard University. What they did was that they first did a pilot study of 450 business professionals and found that more than 70% of them believe that making another person happy, impression management is the best strategy in negotiation, and they constantly use that. But in contrast, in the actual field study, they invited 166 entrepreneurs to join a so-called fast pitch competition in a top university in America. So what they did was all these 166 entrepreneurs presented their startup ideas in front of a committee. And this committee is made of real angel investment group experts. So this group of people, they do this every day. They look at people's proposal about a new business venture and say, okay, I think you're worth being funded, or I think you're not worth my time, right? And all these entrepreneurs, after they did their fast pitch, they reported whether they focused on themselves, on their own business ideas, or they tried to cater to the interest and expectations of the committee, right? That's what they reported. And blind to what the entrepreneurs have reported, the committee just simply evaluated all these 166 proposals, and they selected a small group of them to go to the next round. And when analyzing the data, the professors found that for entrepreneurs who were simply being themselves, they were very, very genuine, authentic in their proposal, they were 3 times more likely to be selected to the next round. So that's the first myth I wanted to bust. The second myth I want to bust is that a lot of the inexperienced negotiators, when they first started, they all believe, oh, now I'm in a negotiation now, I should have a reputation of being super aggressive and tough, right? Because, you know, when you have a reputation, then people will be scared of you and they will naturally just give in to you because you're tough. Now, that makes common sense in social interactions, normal daily interactions, because we are intimidated kind of by aggressive people, right? But in negotiations, this might not be the case. The first reason why this might not be the case is that, again, going back to what I introduced at the beginning of the negotiation, negotiation involves both value creation and value claiming, right? When you have a reputation of being super aggressive and super hard, then your opponent will perceive you as probably selfish, stubborn, unreasonable. They will not trust you. They believe that you will deceive them whenever you can. And as a result, they will not be, they are not likely to engage in value creation with you. And on the other hand, even in the value claiming stage, because you have a reputation of being aggressive, right? They will adjust their strategy and to use even more aggressive strategy against you. So together, you as a negotiator with an aggressive and tough reputation, you actually achieve less in both joint outcome and individual outcome. The research evidence comes from this is a recent study, a field experiment where the professors matched 60 inexperienced negotiators with 60 expert negotiators. And for half of the 60 inexperienced negotiators, they were told by the professors that, hey, by the way, your opponent, this other negotiator, they have a reputation of being always tough and hard. They are very good at claiming value. And for the other 30, they didn't give them such information. And then all the negotiation dyads, they completed a negotiation, a multi-issue complicated negotiation over email in 10 days. And at the end of 10 days, they realized they collected all the results and found that for the expert negotiators whose counterparts believe they are super tough and aggressive, they achieved a lower individual outcome and joint outcome compared to the other experts whose opponents did not believe they are super aggressive. So that's the first reason why being tough is not necessarily always good. The second reason why a tough reputation might not always help you is based on research, recent research on how sympathy influences negotiation. This actually just came out in 2020. So in negotiations, there are 3 different ways of making appeals, right? 3 different ways you can appeal to someone. The first is to appeal to their sympathy. For example, if you want to ask for your boss for a raise, you can say, hey, if you want to appeal to their sympathy, you can simply say, hey, please give me a raise. I need this. My mom is in hospital, my wife is pregnant, and I need to pay my kids' tuition, right? Please help me out. That's the first way you can make appeals. The second way is to appeal to their rationality. For example, asking for a raise, right? You bring all your performance criteria and say, hey, look at this. For the past 6 months, I've done this and this and this, right? And it may be to keep me as a good employee, you need to give me a raise. That's a rationality. And finally, appeal to fairness. You can go and say, hey, look, in the past 6 months, people whose records are less than me or are equal to me, they all got a raise. Therefore, for you to make this workplace a fair place, you need to give me a raise as well. Guess which one works the best? Appealing to sympathy works the best. The reason is because sympathy as an emotion can be easily activated in people. Whenever we see someone in need or in difficult situation, we just automatically feel sympathetic. And once that emotion is activated, it will influence your decision regardless of whether you like it or not, right? That's the powerful power of the emotions. So, but I need to give you a warning here that to use this strategy, you need to be cautious. Do not use this if you have higher status or if you have high power, right? Imagine if you are the boss and when you negotiate with your employee and you bag them, they probably think you're trying to manipulate them, right? And that will lead to worse outcomes. So the last myth I want to cover today is about the role of emotions in negotiations. Now, a lot of us, when we think about negotiations, our knowledge or our, I guess, stereotype or impression comes from pop culture, such as movies, right? And a lot of us have watched movies such as James Bond, where there's a lot of gambling scene. And we believe that negotiation might be very similar to a poker game, where you should not feel any emotion because emotions will bias your judgment, right, leading to bad decisions. And also, you should not show any emotion, meaning that your opponents, they'll be able to read information about you through your emotions, right? So according to this myth, in all negotiations, we should keep a poker face where feel nothing and show nothing, right? And now, the first perspective that this might not be the case comes from the research literature on emotion and mood and in negotiations. So in the past few decades, accumulated research evidence has shown that it might be beneficial for you to be in a good mood or to experience very positive emotions when you are in a negotiation, especially if the negotiation involves a value creation component, right? So the reason behind that is when you are happy, when you're in a good mood, you are more willing to share information with the other party. You're more willing to work together with them. You're more even creative in coming up with unusual solutions to reach a win-win deal, right? That will help you create a lot of value in that stage of the negotiation, leading to better outcomes. So my advice to you is, if you are going to do a negotiation and you know that it requires a lot of work communicating with the other person to build up the value, make yourself happy, put yourself in a good mood. Now, for a lot of business professionals, the question is, how do I feel happy, right? You know, in the business organizations, we don't talk about happiness as often as other things such as achievement, outcome, efficiency, right? But don't worry, guys. Positive psychology has provided a lot of answers to how you can be happy at work, how you can be a happy employee while being productive. Now, here are just a few quick fixes I can find from positive psychology I want to share with you. We feel happy when we satisfy our bodily needs, right? If you go have a nice meal, some interesting drinks, go for a massage, go to the spa, you will feel happy. Or if you receive some materials that you always desire, then you will be happy. For example, if you always want to buy that new watch, new phone, even a new car, do it before the negotiation and bring them with you. And then you will feel like, when you look at your new watch, you feel you're in a good mood, right? And finally, if you're like me, if you're anti-consumption, if you're a minimalist, you don't want to waste your money on materials, simply go to a pleasant natural environment. That will put you in a good mood. Go to the mountains, go to a garden, sit down and meditate, or even go to the beach and for a walk. We have a lot of beaches in Sydney, right? So this is the first reason why poker face might not be a good idea in negotiation. The second reason why poker face might not be a good idea is recent research on how negative emotion display influences negotiation outcomes has shown that if you can successfully convince the other person that you're truly experiencing negative emotions such as anger, frustration, impatience, sadness, then the other party might give in to you more. The logic behind this is really simple. If you can convince them that, oh, I'm so angry, I'm so frustrated, right? I might do something irrational that's bad for both parties. So for the other party, the rational thing to do is to calm you down, right? To bring you back to rationality. And to reduce your negative emotions, they might offer you something so that you will come back to the table. Now, the trick in this strategy is that you need to convince them that you're truly experiencing these negative emotions. So for a lot of business professionals, we usually we are told that in the professional settings, you don't show negative emotions, right? Traditionally, we're told that if you feel angry, frustration, don't show it, stay professional. So for a lot of business professionals, it might be kind of difficult for you to actually fake emotions such as anger in a negotiation, right? So don't worry, guys. When I was younger, I wanted to become an actor. I never made it, but I still got some of the acting skills that I've learned. So I want to share one with you today. And, there are two major ways of faking a negative emotion. Now, I will show you with an example, okay? So now I will show you two angry faces, and you tell me which one is fake, all right? All right, let me show you the first angry face, okay? All right, here it comes. That's my first angry face. I don't know if most people can see me, but here's my second angry face, okay? Wait. Second angry face, here it comes. Now, which one is fake, do you think?
I'm gonna guess both are fake, June.
Come on, guys. My acting skills are rusty, but I'm not that bad, okay? When I did my first angry face, I was visualizing me having a vacation with my family and my friends. I was extremely happy. And then I manipulated my facial muscles to try to pretend to be angry. That skill is called face acting in acting terminology. Face acting, literally acting with your face. For the second angry face, I was thinking about someone who backstabbed me and a lot of my colleagues at work. So when I think of that person, I naturally feel really annoyed and angry. And I just let that annoyance, that anger naturally flow to show anger, right? And so the second acting skill is also called deep acting, and because it comes from deep in you, right? So in negotiations, try to use more deep acting because research has shown that if you use face acting, people can tell that you're fake a lot more than when you are deep acting. And none of us, we don't like fake people, right? That's all I've got today. Now I'd like to pass on to my colleague Suzanne for Q&A.
Thanks very much, June, and hello everyone again. So how should I negotiate virtually, given that during COVID, a lot of our business communication has now gone online? Do you have any tips for us?
Virtually, like online? Okay. Yeah, this is quite relevant in the COVID situation, right? I have been doing so many different things online ever since March, and it took me a while. The learning curve is a little bit steep, but I've learned a lot about online activities. And there's a lot of research recently in the past 6 months on how online communication can be very different from face-to-face. So if I summarize all that research, there is a system, right? It's a short course itself to be communicated online. I can, off the top of my head, I can only think about a few fresh tips I learned recently. The first one is you should always use videos, HD videos if you have the conditions, HD videos, big videos, and ask the other person that you're negotiating with to do the same. That way you feel more, you feel closer to each other than if you just talk on the phone or email. And also, if you're doing a team negotiation, like your team is discussing with another team on Zoom, for example, do not use the app's communication function to communicate with your own people. I know Zoom has a private chat function, but I've heard a lot of cringy incidents where like a team is negotiating with another team, and this team, someone wants to say something nasty about the other team privately to their own team, but they accidentally send it to the whole group. For example, I think these people are really stupid. Once you send it publicly to everyone, it's very hard to come back from that, right? So I strongly encourage online negotiators to have a private chat channel. You can do text, you can do WhatsApp group. Please do not use the same app for private chat because accident happens and it's very pricey.
Thanks, June. So I think a lot of people in many industries right now are in crisis mode given COVID. Can you still negotiate well in a crisis or in a position of weakness?
It is more challenging now, given even education industry that we are in is in a kind of crisis now because of all sorts of reasons, right? And based on my reading and based on the most recent research on how people deal with crisis, there are two things. Two biases I think most people might have in the current situation. The first is that in the crisis time, people pay less attention or people don't consider the long-term outcome at all. Because we don't know what's going to happen in the future, right? So when we negotiate, we're just like, oh, in 2 years, I don't even know what's going to happen in 2 years, right? So people focus on the short-term immediate outcomes. That's not good for negotiation because the value creation part in negotiation requires a lot of long-term thinking, right? Delayed gratification, etc. And if you focus on immediate outcomes, that's not good for the negotiation. And also the crisis sort of time frame us to focus on things like a death, like the end of the world, like these kind of things, right? So the framing is negative, and based on the classic research on framing effect, we might take a lot more risk if you are thinking about avoiding the worst scenario, and taking being overly risky in negotiation is not good in negotiations.
Okay. So from a diversity perspective, I'm interested in knowing, and we've got a couple of questions, one from Marsha as well. Are there any differences in the way that men and women negotiate? So are there gender differences, being that people assume that women have to be always nice?
Just to make it clear, all the in the general negotiation literature, right? Gender difference in negotiation behavior is not the mainstream, but I'll tell you what the existing research has focused on, right? So most of the negotiation technique knowledge applies to both male and female negotiators. And what I know is that the main research on gender and negotiation focuses on the discrimination and bias against the women in the negotiation process. So I'm a strong supporter of gender equity in all industries, in all areas. So it's kind of sad for me to inform the audience today that in this time and day, we still have a lot of biases against women in that negotiation involves a lot of behaviors such as making demands, showing anger, power play, asking for something, right? These behaviors, when they are from a female negotiator, they might be perceived as overly aggressive, overly demanding, and they receive backlashes compared to if a male negotiator engage in these behaviors. So it's very, very, very unfortunate that this, even today, we still have that, right? And of course, there are many different ways to get around that. I don't want to say help female negotiators, to educate everyone so that will be fair to men and women in negotiations specifically, right? So if you want to know more about that area, feel free to get in touch with me or contact our program, and we're happy to talk.
Okay, we've got a lot of great questions coming through, so we may go a little bit over time if that's okay with you, Jun, because we'd love to hear everybody's questions if we can.
Not a problem.
Okay, great. So what would be the best approach negotiating with a professional negotiator in a business deal, say someone in procurement or maybe in a legal perspective, who are often very hard and very inflexible?
So, I mean, the first... for professional negotiations, there's a lot of preparation work to do, right? So information collection, just like in warfare, you need to collect a lot of information, right? Go and find out what this person is like. Go and talk to people who have dealt with them before to find out what their negotiation style is like, right? And also know there is a scientific way to prepare for negotiations, meaning you need to be very clear about a few I would say indices, such as exactly what you want to achieve and what's your walk-away point and what's your contingency plans, right? So you need to prepare really well, especially when you are negotiating with a professional negotiator. Otherwise, you're just walking to be eaten alive, so to speak, when you are confronting a professional negotiator when you don't have much information, right? So, and another tip is that if you know a professional negotiator, and ask them to come with you. And even if they are, like for confidentiality reasons, they can't be there at the negotiation, then ask them to help you to look at things. For example, when I, not in the professional negotiation context, just when I go and buy anything, I always bring my mom with me. And she knows how to get the price down much better than me. I usually just pay for the price they ask for, right? If it's in a context, you can bargain with them.
Okay. So there's a great question here from Tomoko, which is, what is your advice to negotiate a counterpart who claims his or her value only and does not care about the overall size of the pie? Good question.
So they don't care about the... So these people are usually focusing on their own values, right? So it is very important to communicate to them that enlarging the pie can give them more value as well. So don't make the two, value creation and value claiming, as contradicting each other. Value creation actually helps with the value claiming, in that if the pie is big enough, you can have more. So that's if the person is rational, right? And of course, sometimes as a professional negotiators, if you feel that your counterpart needs to be educated about negotiation, it's actually a good thing. That means this person doesn't know much about negotiation, right? And then if you have learned the negotiation skills, then you can just go straight to the value claiming tactics to try to crush them. So that's why the two suggestions. One is to help them understand. And if you think that's not worth your time, just go straight to value claiming, to power play.
Great response. Thanks, Jun. We're going to take two last questions. We've got a lot of questions here. Thank you so much for sending those through, everybody. It's obviously been a very popular session, so thank you, Jun. But our last couple of questions I'm going to ask, one is from Rosalina, and that is, how do you negotiate when you're given a no, we're not interested right now kind of response?
So a no is not actually a no, right? That's what we tell ourselves in the negotiation domain. When you are given a no, don't say, oh, or don't get angry and say, oh, screw you, right? That's just immature. Just don't walk away or get angry. Just say, oh really? Oh, that's what you think. Why? Just ask for more information. Ask for more information and stay a little bit longer is my advice. Don't just walk away or decide, oh, this person's a jerk, I don't like them. Hang out, be thick-skinned, stay around for a little bit longer, find more information. Basically, hey, can you tell me a little bit why you do this, right? Just give me a more, it's because information is key in negotiation. Once you have enough information, it's always better than no information.
And our last question from Hong Lei Dao. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce that correctly, but I did my best. How do we know when a person is sincerely being themselves by showing emotions versus just trying to be manipulative and not sincere during a negotiation?
This takes a little bit exercise, right? So the content I covered today, some of it is from emotional intelligence area, where the ability to detect fake emotions from others is a main area. So this ability, you already have it, in that if someone is being fake, you already know. The problem is sometimes you know that they're being fake, but your mind is telling you something, right? Because of different factors. You really want to reach the deal or whatever, right? You really like this person. And your mind will tell you something different. Well, deep down in your heart, you know that this person is fake. So that's the power of intuition in emotion detection. So it requires a little bit training. And also there's training programs in emotional intelligence where once it's like any exercise, once you have done it enough, you know, oh, this person is pretty fake. I know an online exercise where you can go through quite a few, like 100 pictures, and you can decide, oh, this person is fake or genuine. And in the end, they will tell your result. And you can compare where you did wrong, and you can look at those faces to see if they're basically exercise opportunity, right?
Wonderful. All right, June, that's all we've got time for questions. We have gone over time and we still didn't get to all the questions today. Obviously, it's been a great session. I'd love you to sum up for us before we hand it back to Tony to close.
Thanks everyone again for listening to me today. I hope you enjoyed the content. And just remember, negotiation is not something you can learn by just listening to someone. You need to keep doing it over and over and over again. So exercising is key. And if you have any questions, get in touch with us.
Thanks, June. And now I'd like to hand back to Tony to close. Over to you, Tony.
Thanks very much, June, for those insights. It was a very engaging presentation. Macquarie Business School offers a range of short courses covering all of the business disciplines, including negotiations, resilience, and emotional intelligence. And our contact details are showing on the screen now. I'd like to encourage you to all to keep your eye out for future courses and webinars offered by Macquarie Business School. Thank you.